All right. The Ingalls Advantage talk line is 800-347-1063. The Common Sense Retirement Planning text line is 71307. Now, you know exactly where I stand on this, but what I am is I am a radio broadcaster. I'm not a researcher. I've never done any studies on this. I've never, I do run a commentary on stuff like this, but my guest is a researcher and an author and a musician, and he drives a really mean-looking Corvette. Joined now from Saratoga, New York, by Dan Wos he wrote Good Gun, Bad Guy. Good morning, sir.
Bill Frady, it's great to talk to you, and let me say, South Carolina is better off for having you. But let me say one more thing. I hear these talks about, us gun owners want to have an honest conversation. We will never have an honest conversation with lying, deceitful, anti-gun radicals who have a political axe to grind.
Yeah, well, they won't come out and say that we want to ban them all now, will they?
Exactly.
Well, we know about it. So take us back, if you would. Where did we get this whole notion that such a thing as a gun-free zone was possible?
Well, as far as I can see this, we have anti-gun left-wingers who always talk about this thing that they like to call common sense. Well, in 1990, they got one of their common sense restrictions. It was called the GunFree School Zone Act. It happened in 1990. It's the exact common sense restriction that got these kids killed in Florida and gets these kids killed in every one of these school shootings. It doesn't make sense. And I can give you a few statistics, but that's the gist of it.
Wasn't that proposed by Joe just shoot through the door Biden, Senator, when he was a senator? Yeah. Okay. It was
presented by Joe Biden. It was signed into law by George H.W.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the thing with this: from the time they signed that bill into law, there were from that point, 90 to 93, there were half as many school shootings as there were in the whole prior decade. So what do you think? Any logical person would say, well, hey, this isn't working. We're making our children unarmed and helpless. We're giving killers free rein to come in and shoot the place up and kill people, and they have no way of defense. What do you think a logical thinking person would do? They say, well, this isn't working. No. What they did was they doubled down on it. There was another GunFree Schools Act of 1994 that just made the problem even worse. And now, if you go from that point on to where we are now, school shootings have increased dramatically since then. So it obviously doesn't work. This is the cause of the problem. You don't, and I've said this before, if your dog keeps attacking the cat, you don't declaw the cat. But that's exactly what they want to do. And this isn't about saving lives. It isn't about protecting the kids for them. This is about political positioning. They don't care about the kids. If they did, they would do something. They would speak out against gun-free zones.
Do you think is this something that was put in place so that they can have more chance? Fast and Furious, when you look at Fast and Furious, that was put in place so they could do some border state gun control there, so they could change some reporting methods if somebody bought more than 3 rifles or something. And they did it anyway, even though they got caught with Fast and Furious. Do you think this was put in place possibly to have more of these shootings?
Bill, that's a tough question. You have to be careful when you say things like this, but the evidence would show that they don't really care. That's as far as I'll go on saying that. And I know where we're going with that question. We should let the people think about that one for a minute and let people decide for themselves, because that's a serious accusation on our part. But the evidence would show exactly what you're talking about.
Well, it's such it would be such an easy thing, especially with the evidence with the 10 states that allow armed teachers, to say, well, we're going to leave this to the states now, which it basically is in place for that. But a lot of these states like New York, New Jersey, California. In California, they used to have the concealed carry permit used to allow them to carry in the schools like LEO, and they did away with that, even though nothing had ever happened regarding concealed carry there. So, I mean, Some of these states are just never going to implement this. Do you look at that and say, well, that's an unfortunate problem, or is it just more of an indicator of the way those states are run?
Absolutely, I agree. That's a problem, and that's probably until we start voting some of these clowns out. That's what we're going to have to deal with. But I think not only awareness but shining the spotlight of truth on the anti-gunners, on the left-wing anti-gun radicals, shining a spotlight on it. Because here's what they love to listen to us talk about, the AR-15s, and because that's exactly where they want us. They want us spinning our wheels in the mud, talking about all this stuff. This is not about the gun. It's about political positioning. This is one of their causes. I mean, they also have the fake racism cause that they push and want to make that larger than life. And they also have, the fake sexism cause that they like to push. These are all pieces in their puzzle. This is for political gain.
Now, we talked about this, you and I, the other day. We're looking at DACA and immigration. Is that sort of a tell about the way they really operate? Because they've been all about DACA, and Trump is saying, well, we got 800,000. I'll tell you what, I'll round it up to 2 million. I'll give you amnesty for 2 million. I want a wall. I want to close the borders. I want control of the border. I want to end chain migration. And it's not about DACA anymore, is it?
No, they don't want to save the kids, those sweet little innocent children. They want open borders. And if they can't get open borders, they will disregard those kids. Why do they want the open borders? You know as well as I do why they want the open borders.
Well, I think they think that they would all be Democrats.
Exactly.
I think they look at California. I don't. The 1986 amnesty, what's the percentage of them that settled in California? What was it, like 60%, 70% of them settled in California? And look where California's gone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is obvious to logical thinking people, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to have an argument about things, and we're coming from a logical perspective, and they're not. They really just they just are using this in their political fight.
Now, I don't want to get into this. Let's just keep on hammering on this. Do you see the same template as far as the way the left approaches everything? They have the fake cause that they don't really care about, and they're out there banging the drum left and right.
I call it the cause du jour, and whatever the cause of the day at their popular table is, everyone will flock to it and will preach the words of that particular cause. This is why we're seeing all this. It's why we've always seen the anti-gun stuff and all the ridiculous anti-gun groups who don't even have any idea what they're talking about. And this is why we see this fake racism that they're trying to make larger than life. Look, Bill, I go to the same places that you go to. I go to the post office, the grocery store, the bank. White people and black people, as far as I can see, get along just fine. We say thank you. We hold the door for each other. This racism thing that's being pushed so hard just does not exist at any level of significance, at least at any level that they would want you to think it exists.
Yeah. Real quick before we run out of time, tell people how they can find Good Gun, Bad Guy.
They can go to goodgunbadguy.net or goodgunbadguy.com or search Good Gun Bad Guy on Amazon.
You're going to stay with me for one more segment, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know where we are on time right now because I'm at but in any event, you're out there making the rounds right now. What kind of reception are you getting out there telling these blunt truths?
To be honest with you, people are cheering me on, and I never thought that I would be in this type of position. It's pretty cool. It's very interesting. This was not my intent. I just the books kind of wrote themselves, and what happens is, I think when you're honest with people, I think people see that.
Well, and the other part, I mean, you used the cat thing. I've always said, well, if you're going to make the gazelle more effective, you don't hold him down by the neck and saw off his rack and say, now you can defend yourself against the lions.
Right, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Being being protected by being defenseless. I never.
But I think, Bill, I think It's their political positioning that holds them there, and they know this. I mean, people logically understand that if you open this school up to killers and you purposely disarm people, they understand logically that this is not going to end well. But their political positioning is in such they are in such under such control of their political position, their peers. They don't want to be shamed. This is part of the deal. They have to support this and other so-called causes just to be in good graces with their political agenda.
Yeah, which takes us back to that bad question I had to ask. But you hang on for me. We'll be right back.
Sure thing.
Talking to Dan Wos, author of Good Gun, Bad Guy. You're listening to 106.3 WORD. Ingalls Advantage Talk Line is 800-347-1063. The Common Sense Retirement Planning text line is 71307. Talking to Dan Wos. He's a nationally recognized Second Amendment advocate and spokesperson. He speaks at events and on radio across the country and regularly guests on NRA TV. Do you have a favorite host that you hang out with at NRA TV?
I don't have a favorite. They're all great. I do Cam's show and Grant's show, and I just think everybody over there is fantastic.
Do you not get on Coleon Noir show?
I haven't talked to Coleon yet. No, I'm looking forward to it. I hope so.
You need to tell him that I got you first because I got him first before he was Coleon.
I will. Anyway. I will.
Now, where do you think this is all going to go? Because it seems, the Las Vegas shooting the narrative went away real quick. The Sutherland, Texas one, that narrative went away real quick, and that was because a gun-free zone failed in Las Vegas, and the National Instant Criminal Background Check System failed in Texas. Where do you think this one's going to go?
Well, I hope we can get to the kids and help them see the truth about this stuff, because what's happening is the media is really indoctrinating them with this anti-gun, propaganda. Let me just give you an example. I just saw, you watch TV and you see all these kids with their pictures of AR-15 saying no guns, and all this stuff. They believe it. These are the anti-gunners, and they believe this stuff. They believe that guns are the cause of the problem. They don't understand because you have anti-second radicals teaching them. And they have strategies, and that's what I talk about in my books. But the thing is, one of the things that's really scary, and I think we need to address, is they are teaching people to blur the definition of privilege and right. A privilege is something that's given by man and can be taken away by man. It's a form of leverage. You use privileges with your kids. If you didn't eat your dinner, so you can't stay up past 9 o'clock. I'll take that privilege away from you. A right cannot be taken away. A right is inherent or God-given. But what's happening is now you'll hear people say, I support the Second Amendment, but I think we need common sense gun restrictions. Well, Bill, you can't do both. You can't support my right to keep and bear while restricting my right to keep and bear. And here's the thing. The people who say this nonsense, they believe it because they see rights as privileges.
Well, I would give that a whole lot more credence, but you made reference earlier about having the honest discussion. That the common sense thing, that was a Barack Obama production. And
right.
Nobody's ever told me what that means. What are we talking about with common sense?
Okay.
Because I don't. Do you know? I don't know. I think what they mean is a total abrogation of it. But anyway.
I know what common sense means to them. It means that if you don't agree with whatever this thing is that we're presenting, then you have no common sense. And people don't want to think they have no common sense. And even worse than that, people don't want other people to think they don't have common sense. So what do, Bill? They go along with it. They go along with whatever they can attach common sense to because, then I look like I make sense. Because nobody wants to look irrational.
Well, it isn't so much, I think, about looking irrational. I had somebody that called my show over the weekend, and he asked me if I took responsibility for what happened in Florida. And, of course, I don't take responsibility for what happened in Florida. I didn't do it. I and another 150 million people that own guns, about 9 million of which or 10 million of which are AR-15s, we didn't do it. And are they responsible? Are they responsible for Fast and Furious, the left? Because that killed how many Mexicans? Killed 2 law enforcement agents? Are they responsible for that? Are they responsible for weaponizing the IRS? Are they responsible for weaponizing anything out there? The FBI, all the spying that's going on, are they responsible for that? Are they going to take – because if they're going to blame me for that, they get to take responsibility for everything they backed.
Yeah, but they won't.
No.
That's the thing. They'll get us spinning our wheels and talking about that stuff, but they never will. They'll just move on to the next attack, and they don't care what they leave in their wake as long as they do their job in tarnishing gun owners. Creating fear among people to fear the gun and creating a hatred and anger toward gun owners. Those are their 2 strategies here in this fight.
The thing is, though, the thing that they ignore, and I'll go this deep on it. If they were on, if what they said about us as gun owners was true, there would be no gun controllers out there because we would have already taken care of them.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, it's an obvious point. We engage in debates with them. We try to talk to them about nothing but with fact, because there's plenty of facts out there that we can bring to it. They always go ad hominem. They always want somebody's kids to die or something like that.
Well, that's a great point. The kid thing is one of the strategies that anti-gunners use all the time is the shame tactic. It's gun shaming, and they'll use the toddler in the gun scenario. You've heard the toddler in the gun scenario. Hillary Clinton used that a lot. It's where they want you to think all these cute little diaper-bottomed babies across the country are getting killed because they're irresponsible, gun owner parents are leaving loaded guns just lying around the house. But the truth is that the actual numbers are minuscule. There's 6 times more children will drown in their backyard swimming pool than will die from accidental gunfire. But when was the last time you heard them talk about swimming pools? You don't. So you have to ask yourself, are they really concerned with the deaths of children, or only those deaths that include that somehow are related to a gun? They don't want to save the babies. They want to get control. Well,
the other thing they did with the children was they changed it to where now they include people up to 19 years old, and then we're getting into gangbanger territory.
For their statistics, yes. Yeah. And Barack Obama also changed a mass killing from 4 to 3. Why do you think he did that?
Well, because look at what Everytown does. We've had 18 school shootings this year already.
Yeah.
So, anyway. I'm waiting to see where this goes. I'm glad you're out there fanning the flames of truth. That's a good thing.
Hey, you too, Bill.
I try to do it as best I can. One more time before we run out of time. How do we find? You can find Dan at danwos.com, DANWOS. And from there, you can go to Good Gun Bad Guy.
Yes, goodgunbadguy.net or goodgunbadguy.com, or search it out on Amazon, Good Gun Bad Guy. So thank you so much. It's been great talking to you. Always great talking to you.
Likewise. Thank you for coming on with it. I appreciate it.